The Lord be with you. The coronavirus has turned our lives upside down. Some have lost jobs, some will lose jobs, and some will have to lay others off. Some have lost loved ones, some will lose loved ones, and Lord, may it not be, but some of us may pass from this virus. Life is no longer what it used to be, and while we will make it through it, life will not necessarily go back to normal. For many Americans, this may be the first time that we feel completely abandoned to God, to truly not know how things are going to pan out. And this is frankly frightening. But it is also an invitation for us to enter spiritual formation, not simply to endure, nor just to survive, but an invitation to mature and grow. It is an opportunity to live the gospel at home. Each week for the next season, I'm inviting us all into a posture of spiritual formation. Whether we like it or not, this trial is upon us, and it is not going away. We do, however, have the opportunity to choose our response. In that sense, it is God who is inviting us into spiritual formation. A former pastor and friend of mine used to ask in a small group the following 3 questions to help us to think. What is happening to you first? Second, how are you responding to what is happening? And 3, how is that working out for you? Well, as many or most of us were honest, number 1 was something that was usually bad, which led to number 2, a terrible response. And as you can imagine, the answer to number 3 was usually something like, well, it's not working out at all. Asking these questions provides us an opportunity toward awareness. Awareness is one of the fundamental keys to spiritual growth. Awareness helps us to identify what is true and real versus what is false and fabricated by us. It helps us to identify the tendencies that we follow in dealing with our challenges. And awareness helps us to name where we really need the Lord in our lives. So this week, I encourage you to simply be aware. Don't try to fix anything. The goal is simply to pay attention. Notice your emotions, your behaviors, your reactions, your preoccupations. In my own experience, until I take time to be aware, I don't even see many of the places where I have issues to address. I do not even notice the dysfunctional ways in which I deal with my troubles. To give you a couple of examples, when life spins out of control, I will double down on those things or people that I feel that I can control, like my family. There is something comforting and controlling about controlling something or someone else, even if it has nothing to do with the things that are actually out of my control. Or, as another example, turning to food or other treats for consolation. And in most cases, this tends to be completely subconscious. Now, there's generally nothing wrong with eating some ice cream or getting a Starbucks drink, but when I or we do so to distract us from the harder work of formation, it actually becomes dangerous. So, what does becoming aware actually look like? Well, one practical tool to use is the prayer of examen, a Benedictine prayer of spirituality. And I've placed a link to learn more about this with the video, along with a resource that you can download to practice this. Whatever you're facing right now, whether you're on the front lines, stuck at home, or ill with the virus, the Lord invites you to respond in a way that leads to formation rather than deformation. In the words of Henry Nouwen in his book, Making All Things New, he says, the spiritual life is not a life before, after, or beyond our everyday existence. No, the spiritual life can only be real when it is lived in the midst of the pains and the joys of the here and now. As long as we have only a vague inner feeling of discontent with our present way of living, and only an indefinite desire for things spiritual, our lives will continue to stagnate in a generalized melancholy. I close with this prayer by Roland Williams. Eternal God, who by your holy breath of power makes us a new creation for yourself, we beseech you to preserve what you have created and consecrate what you have cleansed, that by your grace we may be found in that form, the thought of which ever dwells with you, and in which you will to be fulfilled in us. Amen. Dear friends, be encouraged, and may the Lord be with you.